at a restaurant eating those. I didn't even know he had left the house. So, has anybody ever heard about the verse in the Bible that talks about being ready to give your testimony at a moment's notice whenever you're asked, especially by someone who's not a believer? Yes? Okay, that's all the adults that said it, so
yes.
I'm going to read this really quickly. This is a condensed version. It's 1 Peter 3, verse 15. In your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect. And there's a lot to unpack in this verse, but the main point that this verse is making is that your life needs to be a testimony. So that when people ask you, what's different? What about you am I drawn to? Why am I interested in hearing about your story? They have to be aware that there is something different in order for them to ask you that. So you always need to have that at the ready. And tonight we have someone who does have it at the ready because he's been raised in a family that really practices what they preach. I'm really lucky to call his parents my very good friends, and because of that, I've known Max pretty much his whole life. So I consider Max one of my family. That's your friends who are more than just friends. So Max, if you want to make your way down.
Okay, so I used to go out with this girl named Ruth, right? And I broke up with her a couple months ago, so now I'm ruthless. No, I thought I'd tell a joke to make myself feel better so I wasn't as nervous about this, but Mrs. DePasquale really liked it, so that's good. So thank you, Kristen, for the intro. I am Max. If you didn't already know that, you can normally see me here. Well, you used to be able to normally see me here.
Or you got buried on the beach.
Yeah, I got buried on the beach. That was a different person. He looks a lot like me. He's very handsome. But yeah, I'm Max. I've been coming to this church most of my life, since about 5 years old, I think. I used to live in New Hampshire. We moved up here when Dad got a job here at the church. We used to live in the head pastor's basement for about a couple months. I don't remember how many. And now we live in McKenna's old house. I don't know where McKenna is. Hi, McKenna. We live in your house, right? Yeah. It was a big house swap thing. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, we've been there ever since. Haven't moved, and I love it here. Like, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, genuinely. This is one of my favorite places to be. Originally went to elementary school in Brookfield, Christian Life Academy, very small school. My third grade class was 4 people, including myself. I was the only boy for a year. Yeah. So, very small class, very Christian class. I was raised Christian. Initially accepted Jesus when I was 6 years old, but as a 6-year-old, know as much as a 6-year-old knows about it. So, went to CLA until 6th grade. Until 7th grade. Sixth grade was one of the beginning of the harder periods of my life. There were a couple new kids who bullied me a lot. It was not fun. And so we switched to another school beginning of my 7th grade year, Faith Prep. Some of you are familiar, Faith Prep. Going to a new school, it was a little bit bigger. The class was now from 6 to 12, so it doubled in size. But all these kids had been together for about at least 3 years. All of them knew each other. And I was a newcomer. And as a newcomer, you're basically trying to do anything that you can to get recognized, to become part of the friend group, become part of it. That's what I would do. I was anything that anyone needed me to be. I was trying to be friends with everyone. And people took advantage of that, because it's what people do. It happens. At that point, I started developing what I call a double life, which sounds, double life? No. I was one way at school and with friends than I was at home and at church. Because if I was who I was at home and at church, there would be no end of it. Which is not something I'm proud of, and something that I struggled with for a long time after that. 8th grade was one of the lowest points of my life. It only got worse, because people knew who I was and they knew how to poke at me. What they would do is they would be friends with me, great friends with me one day, and they would cut me off at the knees the next day. And that happened for a year, and it was awful. I made it through, thanks to my friends, family, and God, is the only reason. It's the only reason I made it through that. And I'm standing here today because of that. That was one of the roughest periods of my life, and I would not wish that on anyone. I would. At that point, I was looking for a way to get out of that school. I was going to be starting high school in the fall, which was very new to me. I didn't know what to expect, so I had two options in that moment. I could either stay at Faith with all these kids and continue this, or I could go to Danbury High School. Most of you know what Danbury High School's reputation is. It's not great. It's not great. So I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. But then we remembered one of my old friends from CLA, Fabrizio Fernandez. Some of you know him as Fab. Fab's fantastic. But Fab was going to Abbott Tech. I didn't know much about Abbott Tech. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Lane. I didn't know much about Abbott Tech, except for the fact that it was a trade school, and I didn't know anything about trade school. Looking into it, we were up at my grandparents' cabin in Maine for a week, and it was like 2 weeks before Abbott started. And we were looking into it the whole week, like, ooh, this might be a good option. What are you going to do there? And I really liked building Legos for most of my childhood. There's still a lot of Legos in our basement. So I was like, I'm good with my hands. What if I might want to do automotive? Because they had an automotive program. Went to Abbott, tried automotive, and I was horrible at it. Fortunately, Abbott doesn't stick you in one spot. They let you try everything out. So I wound up sticking with electrical. I'm very glad that I did, because I was decently good at it, and I enjoyed it. I was in electrical for 4 years. Throughout those 4 years, many different things happened. Freshman, sophomore year, it was going from a class of 12 to a class of 180 kids. So it was a bit of a transition. It wasn't too bad. It was just a lot more kids. But the good thing about a lot more kids is you have a lot more options. That sounds a lot worse now that I've said it. but it is true. You have a lot more options. You're not stuck with the same people. Because when you're stuck with the same people, you have no one else to talk to. So if I didn't like someone, or if someone didn't like me, I could just go talk to someone else, because there was a lot of people I could talk to. Freshman and sophomore year were pretty good, besides like the transition of coming out of private school into public school. If any of you know anything about that, it's a little weird. Fortunately, the kids at my private school were just as bad as the kids at my public school. Yay! But they wouldn't bully me, they would just trash talk everyone else, so it was okay, because I could just be like, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing. Sophomore year was pretty much the same. I was getting acquainted. I got some friends, I got a good group of kids. Cal is still with me. I'm very happy. Since day one of freshman year, first class. And then, when was it? It's March of 2020. 10-day vacation, everyone. 10-day vacation. We're so happy. We were all super excited. This isn't gonna last long. It's 10 days, it'll blow over. Oh, how wrong we were. Oh man. That was not a fun time either. A lot of things resurfaced. I was waking up at 8 to do online school until 12, and then I was working from 12 to 5. And that was my routine until the summer, and I was still working in the summer. It was very monotonous. It was not fun. Had a lot more anxiety in that time again, as most of us did. It's not an uncommon thing. It was COVID. None of us were really sure what was going to happen. But it was not fun dealing with all these things that I thought I was good with. Summer came and went. There wasn't a lot we did because it was COVID. Junior year comes around, and we start online. We reintegrate slowly but surely back into regular school, which I was thrilled about. I was like, I'm never going to complain about going to school again in my life. For 2 months. So I'm going back to school every other day. It was a weird thing, but I'm glad to be back in school. But I was continuing to do the two-faced life. So one way at school, I was another way at home. And I didn't have a problem with that unless I was called out on it, which I wasn't because no one else knew about it. It was just a regular thing in my life. It was just something I did. Spring to summer 2021 was also a rather rough time. I had a lot of changes in friends in that time, and it wasn't fun to go through that either. I'm very grateful for the friends I have now, that group, some of this group, and my friends up there who are also my parents. And then we went to summer Hume that year, which is where I met someone who I thought was a camper, but was also my counselor. He still likes to tell that story to embarrass me, so now I'm going to embarrass him a little bit. And that was a week where I was definitely called out on a lot of things. Steve has only seen me cry once, and I'd like to keep it that way. But Steve basically called me out on everything that I had been dealing with because I was crying my eyes out, and I was telling him how I didn't want to do this anymore. And he helped me see what I could become. And I'm very grateful for that, and that definitely helped me get on the right path. Right after that, I went right back into the real world, right back into school, slipped into some bad habits that I put behind me, and I'm proud to say that I have. But the rest of the year, it was just mostly back to normal. I was trying to eliminate the double life. It wasn't very successful, but I was trying. And then the winter retreat this year, that's crazy. The winter retreat this year happened. And it was a fun weekend. There was a blizzard. It was a little weird, but we had a lot of fun. But it was the thing that I really got out of that weekend was the realization that that was my last winter retreat as a student. What I had fallen into the habit of doing is I would go to camp every half of the year, winter and summer, and that would basically be my big reset button. I'd go to camp, cry my eyes out. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to be a bit different. It's going to be different. 2 months later, it wasn't different. It was the same thing. And I would do that. That was just the cycle that I was in. And then winter retreat happened, and I realized this is it. I'm a senior. I'm not doing this again. I don't get that reset button anymore. I don't get that escape jail card in Monopoly. That's not a thing that's going to happen anymore. So I need to make a decision here. I need to either be real about this, or I'm not going to do this, because I can't have it both ways. Since that moment, I have been trying to live my faith out as best as I can. I've been trying to stay committed to that. Kept that throughout the rest of senior year, went through some not fun stuff. A lot of people who I thought were friends were not really my friends, and were doing a lot of talking behind my back, and it wasn't fun, because I thought these kids were my friends. I'd known them for 4 years, and it wasn't fun. But I made it through that. I'm very glad that I did. And then we get to the season where we're approaching Summer Hume, which is like my favorite thing. I love Summer Hume. All I have to say is praise about it. Best place. And I'm going into this with the attitude of, okay, I think I'm at a point where I don't think that I need a reset. I think I can go into this weekend looking to help other people who need it. I think I can go into this weekend looking to help anyone who has issues that they're scared to deal with. And I went into the week. We had a great time. It was a lot of fun. One of the best camps I've been to. And that definitely happened. I saw like I had a bigger impact on other people's lives than I realized. And that was a great thing to see, because I was able to move past the point where I needed to work on myself, which you're never done working on yourself, realistically. Everyone's going to have that. But I got to a point where I was well enough that I could start helping others through examples from my own life, and that was a great place to be in. I wanted to continue that when I got back, and I've been trying to do so since then. And it's a great thing. Because when God uses me, it's one of the coolest things that I've seen. Since then, I've eliminated the factor of living a double life. I don't live in the secrets anymore that I used to. I don't have that fear of slipping up into the school max when you're at home, when you're in home mode max. I don't have that fear because I'm the same person through and through. I try to be as genuine as I can. Because if you're not being genuine, if you're not being who God created you to be, you're kind of wasting that gift. It's who you created to be. If you're going to be someone else, what's the point? I'd like to challenge you guys not to keep one foot in each pool. The Bible literally says that we cannot be both cold and hot. You have to be in one pool or the other. For lukewarm, he'll spit us out. This is either your faith or not. There's no in between. You can't have it both ways. I challenge you guys to find where you want to be. Who do you want to be? A lot of us still struggle with our identity. I get it. I did too. Your identity in the Father never changes. And it won't. It's constant. It's your child of God. That hasn't changed. He's seen you since before you were born, since the beginning of time. Since Genesis 1:1, even before that. God is outside our concept of time. So even before that, when there was nothing but God, He had a plan for you. He knew that we were going to be in this point. Which is always like crazy. Oh, I get super like meta with it. Oh my gosh, I was thinking this exact moment. He has an intricate plan for your life. Everything that happens to you is for a purpose. Every challenge is made to grow you, as hard as it may be. A lot of my friends have helped me see that. I'm very grateful for that. He shapes who we are through our life, through our challenges. And if we're trying to be someone else, He can't do that. I challenge you to lose the mask, because that was the challenge that was given to me. It's a hard one, especially if you've been doing it for a while. But it is so freeing if you can. So, if you ask any of them, the person I was 3 years ago, it's a completely different person than who I am today. Devin's nodding his head. He knows. He knows. It's all thanks to God. It's all thanks to Him. So, I'll close with that. Again, challenge, lose the masks. I used to parade around in a helmet. It was a literal mask. I don't anymore. As funny as it was, it's not funny anymore. Steve yelled at me, not literally, but made me see that we have to lose it. So, with that, I'll hand it back off to Lance, who's still he's pointing in this direction. I'm handing it off to Evan. Hey, Evan, Steve.
To Max, because giving your testimony is not easy, and as you can see, he has a group behind him that loves him very much, and they're also crazy. We're going to transition to worship now, and it's